from Team DC Ponies. Today I'm really excited because it's my first ever time at Burghley Horse Trials and I'm going to walk the cross-country course with Felicity. I'm so excited. Come with me, let's go and find her. I've been jumping that! It's so big! Felicity took us around the course to show us the best way to approach the jump.
You have to be patient and wait, but that means to get that more square turn you need to have gear change right down, because you could cut in and still travel, but you can't do that, so you've got to slow down so you can make that turn so that then you get a good jump in over this. You know, the only problem is if you're fighting with them to get the turn, you might end up being a bit backwards, go a bit up and down over that, and you land not traveling. So there's two options of distances here. So you want to land out here. 1, 2, 3, 1 stride, 1, 2, 2 strides, 3 strides, 4 strides, 5 strides. I want to take off here. So, you know, it looks like a lot. We walked to 2 paces from the base of the fence, and when you think they're going to take off here, they've got to jump the whole width of this fence and they'll land 2 steps out as well. That is a crazy distance for a horse to travel, but they do it, and when you watch them, you don't even think anything of it. So your long option here, once you jump that brush, you're committed to this. Okay, so this is what the course designer has been really clever with. And as riders, we're galloping around, you know, we've got the adrenaline, but we've still got to be really careful about where we're going and knowing where we're going, having our plan A, B, C. So if you jump that brush, you have got to jump this, otherwise you'll get to 20 penalties. So if you jump the brush and decide to circle, that's the 20. At fence 6, just quite a sharp turn off that, and then we want to gallop away, but think straight away on landing right-handed, because actually when you stand at the oxer, it's slightly placed going to the left. Yeah, so you just need to, as you take off, just soften your up. What my trainer Caroline was saying is to actually come fairly tight, don't need to be way out there. Want to be gear changing back there and coming back to a canter. Yeah. Now, I don't know how they're going to jump off of this. I don't know how my horse is going to jump off it. I'm probably even going to be possibly thinking about coming back to 1 or 2 steps to trot if I can, and then just keep my leg on, make sure my lower leg's really good. Have my reins a bit longer, but just keep them sort of by my thigh here, because I don't totally want to slip them because of the next 2 fences coming up. So this combination of direct route, we've got the AB, the CD, which is the brush, and the EF, which is the corner. So that's the direct route. So you can see it's kind of all built on a bit of a left-hand curving line. So it all sort of depends how you jump off this. You don't want to jump off this going too much down to the left, because then you'll be knifing in at the brush and then you'll be off your line to the corner. So you need to be brave to jump this straight and almost keep a bit of feeling of staying out. And then the same thing, jump the brush a little bit left to right so that you're turning back into the corner, rather than being too far left and having to really hold your line, because it makes it a really narrow slice. You can, if you jump down this and you then end up all over the top of the brush, you can pull left and nip between the D brush and the corner and go to the narrow skinny log and the left-handed corner. So there's more jumping efforts, and if you've gone long from the start, roll top, down the slope, brush there, skinny log, left-handed corner. So it's about, well, 3 or 4 more jumping efforts. So it's not necessarily a huge long route in terms of the ground you cover, but it's more jumping efforts, and you've got a long way to go. So in an ideal world, you know, you want to be going direct here, but I think this is going to cause, I do think it's going to cause quite a lot of problems. I think this is really, really quick, yeah. And this is going to feel like a roller coaster. You don't walk a distance down to the brush. React quickly if they've had a stumble. and not be jumping this too much right to left just yet, because you don't want to turn back in too early. So trying to still think of a little bit, jumping it ever so slightly for me personally, just almost going a little bit to the right, because as soon as they take off, his front feet hit the ground and start turning back in. Because you'll see when you walk the line, if you jump this dead straight and line up the corner from here, it makes it a really acute angle. So if you can come a little bit here, 1, 2, land here, 1, 2, 3, 1 stride, 1, 2, 2 strides, 3 strides. Then you're squaring it up a lot more, gives you a bit more room, whereas if you're sort of here, you're really risking a right-hand run out, aren't you? But you know, it will come up so quickly that it's difficult to remember, just that little bit of angle. So there's a lot to think about here. You know, one sort of wrong move or open your rein too much over that and you're going to be on the wrong line to this. So it's all about trying to make it feel easy and jumpable for them at this stage in the course, really. Don't really want them losing confidence this early on, because we're only at fence 7.
Felicity?
Yes.
Can you knock down any of these fences?
You can. We try not to, but for example, this one,
Yeah.
you see the green and the red things on it at the side, the metal bits?
Yeah.
And there's the wire at the back there. They're MIM clips, so if the horse hits them, then the fence will fall down, and you do get penalised. You get 11 penalties for that. So we don't want to do that if we can help it. But you know, it's a really good safety feature, because if you do get a terrible jump, not a jump that's not what you want, and the horse comes down on the back rail, it means that you can carry on. The horse is hopefully uninjured, none the worse for wear, but you do get penalised for that. So there's a few like that. There's none up there. I think that's your first MIM clip, your first frangible device is what they're called.
Okay. How many fences or how long will the course take?
So it's 11 minutes 20, the optimum time. There's not going to be many people getting inside it, because it's really difficult to make the time at this level. So a lot of the horses will actually be galloping for a lot longer, maybe 12 minutes, more than that, especially if you think about the long routes that I've said.
Okay.
Yeah, because they'll mean that you get time faults most likely. You spend more time going around an easier option. So that's your sacrifice. You might do a long route which gets you clear, but it will mean that you're slower. So that's what you've got to weigh up when you're making those decisions. So yeah, there are, I think there is 30 numbered jumps, but you'll start noticing, did you see the A, B, C, D, E as well on the flags? So you've actually got about 45 jumps to jump.
Okay.
Yeah. So even though the numbers only go up to 30, they do the letters, so in the combinations there's actually more that you have to do. Okay. So there is there's a lot to jump. Third minute is, where is your third minute? Coming up, so it's at this next fence here. So we've only gone 2.5 minutes, and you think of what we've already had to do. It's really quite intense, this part of the course. And you know, it'd be so easy. I think you will see people, if they've had an early problem, they might end up just putting their hand up and walking home, because there's so much more to do. So you really want to try and really get these jumps jumped, get them out of the way. For me, I'm not going to be thinking about how fast I'm galloping. It's actually not an awful lot of galloping in the first bit. So I think you might find, if you have jumped through all these and you've done the job properly, you might be a little bit down on your minutes, but you've got some galloping stretches coming up, so hopefully be able to make the time up. So we've got 8A here, this angled log, and then the B is that, again, angled log where it's a left-handed corner, really. Yeah. So this is a really sneaky fence. What you might not see from here is that you haven't got very much flat ground at all after this fence. It drops right away. So you've got to stay on the edge and not get pulled down the bank. So come up and have a look. Got this ground that runs away, and we've got to get to B without falling down the bank. So we haven't got the luxury of coming out and being able to take all the time we want and then turn back in. We've got to stay on quite an acute angle. So I've walked a distance, we won't worry too much about it. So kind of stay out here. We've got to be patient and wait for the fence, which is really hard to do when you're at Burghley and you need to attack it. and then show the horse the fence, turn back in. Imagine that we're going back up the hill that way because it just holds the horse in, because the direction they're likely to go is left, isn't it? It's going to be that way. That's the way out. Nothing holding them in. There's nothing stopping them running past this. So you have got an alternative again here, which is B, just behind you there. So you can jump the first log.
Yeah.
Canter still up here, stay on the bank, but you would want to shout alternative or long route. Give yourself enough time to turn back right-handed to jump the B, and again land. Just give yourself a moment to turn, make sure they don't slip, and then come on here. So you have to do a full circle as the long route. So
Which is your favourite discipline? Show jumping, cross country, or dressage?
Show jumping. Yes. Probably because I'm usually quite good at it, and I don't find it quite as scary as cross country, and I don't find it quite as boring as dressage. So when I've got a horse that makes it feel easy, and obviously, you know, the cross country is something that I'm, well, hopefully good at. But it's more nerve-wracking because if you make a mistake cross country, there's 20 penalties. If you make a mistake show jumping, it's 4 penalties. So the stakes are higher cross country. So I think, you know, you get more nervous for it. Really our first real breather in the course, because everything else has been very intense. We've got, you know, a big fence coming up, off a bit of a turn, so it's still got to be respected, but you'd like to think out of all the fences it's maybe one of the more of a let-up fence, which seems ridiculous when you'll see the size of it. But you know, this is where if they've just gone a bit, oh my god, I've just done all that, and hopefully you've done it all clear and you've done it all well, but if you've had any sort of sticky moments or you've had to take a long route, this is where you want to get them back into their rhythm and say, right, come on, let's get going again.
How did you do in the dressage yesterday?
Well, my horse started off like Allegro. He did the most beautiful trot work. He was getting very, very well marked for it, so that was brilliant. And then he decided when he went to canter that he was going to go into cross-country mode. So the flying changes he suddenly found ridiculously exciting. So he made a few mistakes. There wasn't really an awful lot I could do. He just was a bit naughty. But he did some nice work. So he still ended up on a 33, but he should have been on a 28, so it's just a bit frustrating. But again, I came out the arena and thought about this and thought it's really the least of my worries. So we've got a bit of a drop in the ground here. So obviously you've got the option of staying up on the high ground and squaring off to it. You might see some people doing that. I don't think you will many, because you can see where everyone's walked their line. Pretty much everyone's just walked, staying on sort of the edge of this little curvature here. And you need to gear change down so you're not sort of flattening down to the drop and the up, so that you can then ride round the corner and ride up to this rather than be a bit flat and be pulling to this, because this is a big fence. I want to keep our right leg on, jump it right of centre, because I don't want to be jumping it off here because of the trees. I want to be economical everywhere, so left to centre, right leg on.
Do you ever get nervous?
Yes, very nervous. I'm very nervous, yeah, now really. It'll be worse tomorrow morning, but trying to take every day as it comes, really. Last night I sort of didn't really think it looked possible to jump around here, so I wasn't quite sure whether I was going to do it or not, so I'm trying to just use today, give them a jump, take my mind off it. And hopefully the more I walk the course, the more relaxed I'll be. But yeah, I will be, not probably a very happy bunny tomorrow morning, I can tell you that.
Do you ever get excited in parts of the course?
Yes, once I've jumped the last fence. Yeah, no, there's nowhere that you get excited or you think, oh, I've done it now, or you relax for a moment around a course like this. You keep riding and you keep focused till you are literally through the finish flags. Right, okay, so I probably walked a little bit wide there. Our 4th minute was just down the bottom of the hill at the Christmas trees. But you know, if you're down on your minutes, if you've done a long route, you might find your 4th minute's coming up at that parallel. So there's not much you can do about that. You've got to focus on the jumps. So here the ground rises up to this. We want to be jumping this a little bit right of centre, just slightly, okay? And you won't be able to see unless you look over the top, going down to this right-handed corner in the water. So what we don't want to do here is turn in too early, because the fence after the corner is that log pile into the water to the triple brush if we're going direct route. So there's literally no point us angling this corner. And also I think it's quite nice the way they've done it, because we've got to stay out because the next fence, and that actually makes the corner less acute because you square it off more, whereas if we had to jump the corner here, obviously you've got more of a right hand run out. So yeah, staying on the right, and it's about being brave. You know, you've got your eye on the fence. The hardest thing to do is to keep your eye on a fence and not do something. You've got to wait and be patient. You've got to get down this bank. So it's not a particularly huge corner from what they have been jumping. It is in water, but the water's not that deep, so we've got to try and actually ignore the water, I think. I always think people go, oh, it's water. Well, just pretend there's no water there. You know, you want support anyway going down the bank. So you'll be jumping this, and then as soon as you're in the air, pretty much, and you know that you've got the correct side of this flag, you want to be thinking about turning left, because it's quite a tight left turn, but you also don't want to lose the balance. So basically, that brush is the alternative for your brush corner. These two are your options here. So either this one is your direct route to the skinny, or your drop in. If you've jumped the drop in, you can jump the step up and go around that triple brush there, but you've got to loop back inside and do a turn back to it, so it's quite twisty. If you do jump this and you have a problem, you stumble, they land all over it, and you're quick enough to react in the water and you don't present to that, you can nip up the step and then go around to jump your brush, because this skinny brush is EF, which is equivalent to the step and that brush. It either walks a really, really long 2, or it walks quite a short 3. So to be honest, that's basically about getting in over that, keeping the balance and getting out over this. I think we've got to not worry about how many strides they put in, really. Keep my body up just in case he does stumble, because that'd be a really silly place to have a fall on the flat.
How many ponies do you have at the moment?
Well, I don't have any ponies, I have horses. So I've probably got about 10 in work at the moment. Probably about 7 of which that are actually out competing. Some of them are a bit younger and some of them are in for schooling and training. So it's enough to do, definitely. But this week's just, you know, focusing on my main man, which is quite nice.
What's your pony's name that you're riding today?
Mickey. Yeah, Mickey. Mr. Mickey, he's a bit of a legend. His posh name is RHS Contend'or, which is not so easy to remember, but never mind. Everyone knows him as Mickey, like even the press people now and people who interview me, they just refer to him as Mickey. I'm like, yeah. So this fence is actually quite a nice fence. This is probably one of my favourites in the course. It's a really nice ascending profile, means that you can come around this turn and hopefully move up to it. Don't need to jump it over to the right. It's also got more of a drop over to the right, so we don't need to do that. So keeps the left-hand side and then land and keep galloping. So this is, you know, a let-up fence, nice fence for them after that intensity of the trout hatchery. I'll personally be coming probably up here, it's ever so slightly flatter, and then almost jump a little bit across it and just jump it a little bit more over to the left.
How fast would you ride that fence?
You would keep coming to this. You probably wouldn't, if you can help it, you probably wouldn't need to use too much rein. You can keep coming at this. If you've got a good jumper, you're not going to worry about that. If you've got one that's maybe a little less careful and is prone to hit it, you might just need to just use your body. But if you go to your hand, it'll make the horse put its head up and drop its back, and actually they're more likely to hit it then. So you do want to try and keep a soft hand. You just might need to use your body to balance the horse and keep them off the front of it. The ground line really helps.
If you had a tip for a younger rider, what would it be?
Oh God, that's a big question. I'm sure there's lots of things. probably trying to stick to your own plan, do your own thing. It's very easy when you're young to see your friends and people you're competing against, maybe with nicer ponies, more expensive ponies, maybe feel like they're doing better than you, getting caught up in it. So got to try and do your own thing and just keep working away at improving yourself, and then the results will hopefully look after themselves. So focus on yourself and try not to think about what everyone else is doing, I think would be quite important. So you can maybe jump this with a little bit of an angle, but not much, because horses generally take off one leg at a time. So if you angle something and they're taking off one leg at a time, that's more likely for them to leave a leg. So you want to, keep the balance good there. As soon as they're, first stride on landing, you then hang a right. You've got two options here. You can either jump the hedge or the parallel. I think I'm probably going to jump the parallel. You'll see why. A lot of people went, oh, well, I want to jump the brush because it's smaller. But actually, you've got to jump the corner afterwards. So jumping the hedge puts you on maybe not quite a nice pattern as jumping the oxer to the corner does. So they should jump really well, not worrying about what's going on here. You can't really jump it one side or the other because of what's going on though. So you do have to jump it pretty much in the middle. And then, and again, you've just had a gallop up that steep hill, you just need to give them a little shake just as it flattens out there. So not just a bit here. So you can see where people have walked. You can see some people have walked a little bit further round to the left on a curve. And you can see some people have walked a little bit straighter. There's maybe a bit more risk jumping it a little bit straighter. I'm hoping at this point in the course we're over halfway round now. I'm hoping that the stride length will have opened up a bit more. If this was at fence 5, you'd be going on 5 strides all day long, but because we're halfway round, the horses have opened up and jumped so many big jumps, wouldn't be surprised if they do take one out and go on 4. So this is one where I'm a bit undecided and I'll watch a few. Land here, 1, 2, 3, stride, 1, 2, 3, 2 strides, 1, 2, 3, 3 strides, 1, 2, 3, 4 strides. So, it's quite a way off it when you walk it, but it's not always accurate on foot because my paces stay the same around the whole course, but the horses change. You'd be amazed jumping how differently a combination could jump if you put it at the beginning versus at the end.
We then looked at the defender at the dairy farm. I can't believe how big the fences were at Burghley. Felicity had to go on ride Mickey, so we had to walk the rest of the course quite quickly. The Fairfoot and Fairfax booths jump were really wide. The Cottesmore Leap was the biggest rider frightener on the course. Look how wide and big it is. Would you like to jump it? I would like to give it a go one day. I can't see over the top of this fence. It's so big. The Volta design jump is so super wide. So followed by a very skinny jump, so the riders have to be very accurate at where they're riding. And if you've never jumped cross country before, you must jump the red flags on the right and you must jump the white flags on the left. Thank you. walks are called, we went and looked around some of the shops. Wait, was any of these books the ones that I have? Oh, that's me. No. Hello and popcorn. I thought it was actual yummy popcorn. No! No, the horse popcorn. Wait, oh, that's the cheek jump thing that I saw. Right. First thing I actually saw, but didn't think it was Penny magazine. Oh, I don't know who that is. Esme. Oh, that's Joey. That's Casper. I visited some of my favourite stands and sponsors. I've had an amazing day at Burghley Horse Trials, and thank you to Felicity for walking the cross-country course with me, and thank you for the top tips. I got this new Shellac dressage horse from Pony magazine, and it was amazing meeting some of my sponsors. Thank you everybody for watching today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more pony adventures.